Hey everybody, how you doing? Danny Doyle with Safety Components, here to introduce February's Burning for Knowledge training clip. Lieutenant Grant Schwabe from Estero, Florida, Engine Company 43, joins us to go over a really quick, detailed lecture on three different types of search. Search is one of the things that Grant really likes to lecture on and teach. He travels the country doing so. You guys may have seen him at FDSC, the Orlando Fire Conferences, which is coming up at the end of this month, and some other places. He also is featured on Fire Engineering's webpage, along with many other places that he has traveled to. So with that being said, you're about to see his clip. It is very well done. Just like Sammy last month, Grant knocked it out of the park, and I really appreciate both their times. And we're going to follow it up next month and a month after as well. But as every training clip, I'm going to make sure that I always put out there that just watching a clip on the internet or any social media platform whatsoever does not, by any stretch of the imagination, make you the professional at it. So keep in mind, you got to take this training clip to your training, like your volunteer house or your next shift at work. Make sure that everyone's on the same page. Review it a couple times, train on it repeatedly, not just once. Because when you're going through the front door and you can't really see what's going on, that's not the first time to let somebody else know what your game plan is. So with that, Grant, take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Grant Schwabe, Lieutenant on Engine 43 in Estero, Florida, and we're going to talk just a little bit about search. I appreciate Safety Components letting me have the opportunity to do this. So sometimes I think we need to break down things into a simpler fashion. I learned that from Aaron Fields and his rule of threes. So let's just talk about search a little bit and maybe get all on the same page. I think a lot of times people get the perception that the only time you're ever going to make a grab is if it's some heroic thing that should be on TV. I do a grabs podcast where we highlight real life rescues and we hear from the first responders firsthand on what happened. And most often we find that the grabs aren't anything spectacular. They happen in 2 to 5 minutes. And really all we really need to do is get inside and occupy space. Remember, we're not searching for the golden Easter egg, right? We're searching for a 5-foot tall human being in a 10 by 10 room. So as long as we can occupy the space, we can be relatively comfortable that we're going to come up with a successful outcome in locating them. So we shouldn't be afraid to get inside and do that. So let's break down search just a little bit. I like to break it down kind of in the rule of threes. And the first search we want to talk about is the inside search, and that's what we're most comfortable with, it seems to be done more often than any other search. And that's the inside search. I kind of just described that as we're going to enter from the front door and search the house, right? And we usually do that if we've only got one search team. My preference is to just search with 2 people rather than 3, just from a communication standpoint. I think it goes a little bit quicker. But let's break this down on the inside search. You've got an oriented search. And with the oriented search, the officer leads and directs the search, right? So you got to do your live fire layout, locate the seat of the fire, search that fire area, and then we're going to work our way to the bedrooms because we know by percentages that's where the largest percentage of victims are found. Once we get to those bedrooms, we don't need to dump 2 firefighters in a 10 by 10 bedroom. 1 firefighter can sufficiently search that. So as the officer moves through the rooms or moves through the building, he's going to identify those areas that need to be searched and just dump that firefighter in that room to do the search. Meanwhile, the officer's moving to the next point and locating what that next room that needs to be searched is, right? The officer's main focus is setting the pace, setting the priorities of the areas where you're going to search, and then paying attention to conditions and orienting himself or herself to the building, so we know how to get out or what the best plan of removal will be for victims as we get them out, right? And then some people may say, well, hey, why is just the firefighter doing the searching? Shouldn't the officer be doing the searching? And what I found with my crew, and this seems to be pretty consistent with the people that I talk to across the country, is the more comfortable you are with your partner, the better the conditions are, the further away we split. And obviously it's going to work out better if two people can split and leapfrog rooms, or you take the left side of the house and I'll take the right side of the house. But that's going to be dependent on your level of comfortability with your partner, your level of training, and then the conditions. The newer my partner, the closer I stay to him, and I get away from split and I move towards oriented search, because as the boss, I'm kind of in charge of his or her safety, right? The more senior partners that I've ever had, I had a partner that we taught search together, and we knew what each other were going to do. In that instance, we moved towards a split search, and we just get stuff done because we'd had a lot of rapport with each other, and we knew what we were going to do when we were going to do it. So this is obviously the optimum, and if you look at the numbers on firefighterrescuesurvey.com, split search finds the victims the largest percentage of the time. All right, and then the other inside search, you get your typical right-hand or left-hand search, right? Maybe you identify like a trailer or a longer building that's 25 feet deep and 50 feet wide. Based on where the door is at, we want to identify the bedrooms, and we're just going to start right-hand or left-hand. But this is at that real basic level on inside search. Let's talk a little bit about VES, that's vent enter search. Typically, this is going to be done when you've got 4 people on a rig, or 2 teams can split. So that way you've got one crew of 2 going in on the inside team, the other is coming in to do your searches from the outside, right? And I like to break it down to folks that say, well, that seems like a dangerous tactic. Now let's talk about when we're going to be using this VES as opposed to doing an inside team, right? So obviously, if we've got 2 teams, we're going to be using VES and an inside team, right? But if your normal entry is blocked, and maybe it's blocked because of fire, maybe it's blocked because of obstructions, maybe fire has weakened the stairs and we can't make the 2nd floor, and maybe it's just blocked with a bunch of people, right? So we know that happens often too. So your normal entry is blocked. Another reason you might use VES is because we got a known location of the victim. The only thing I'd caution you on this is if it's a 15-year-old, hey, my 15-year-old's in that bedroom, we just want to be cautious because I think a 15-year-old would try to escape. So if we focus our energy away from the inside search and we go straight to VES, there's a good chance that that victim tried to go his way out and may not be in that room. By contrast, if it's a 9-month-old, 9-month-old's probably going to be right where the parent left them, right in the crib. That might be a better known location application of the vent enter search, right? And then before going defensive, if we've got a heavy fire involvement and we can't make entry safely via the normal means, maybe we want to be going in windows and just checking one room at a time because we're only 5 to 8 feet from an exit point. So that might be a good application for this. You might hear, I think the big thing on vent enter search is everybody's kind of taught we're going to break a window and we're going to go in, we're going to sweep, or I was going to sweep the floor, we're going to locate that hallway door, we're going to take a peek down the hallway, make sure there's no victims in there, we're going to shut that hallway door, we're going to search the room, and then we're going to come back out. And if you've done any practice breaking windows or anything, you know window breaking takes a little bit of time. So if we want to truly search this building like we want somebody to come search for our family, we need to consider going beyond the door, right? So normal entry blocked, that does become our entry point, right? It's just a door and a remote location on the 2nd floor. So taking out that window, we're still going to sweep the floor. We're still going to get to that bedroom, that hallway door, check the hallway. We're going to search that initial room. But if that hallway is relatively clear, it's going to be much faster for us to go beyond the door and get to the other bedrooms rather than come back out and break another window. If the only way you know to do VES is to come outside and break windows, what happens when you've got obstructions with trees or other burglar bars or other things like that that either make it inaccessible or is going to delay your VES? So you at least need to have a conversation with your crew when you're going to be willing to go beyond the door and when we probably shouldn't, and what that sounds like over the radio. The last method of search is going to be that dirty or engine-based search. Now, I kind of reserve this for when you're in a rural area, maybe there's a delay in your second due. Victims can't wait until 15 minutes until that second due unit can arrive on scene. So we at least need to have a plan when we're doing an engine-based or a dirty search. So it's a delay in the second due arrival. So we've got really one crew that needs to address the fire problem and get that search done. So as we go in, we're going to stretch the hose, obviously try to find the seat of the fire, right? But what happens once we open up that line? Usually the visibility gets a little bit worse because of the steam, right? It also heats up that area just a little bit. So if we can find the seat of the fire, maybe just a pause until we go in and that officer can search that area, right? The other thing we want to do is we want to confine the areas that we can't readily search right off the bat. So as we're going in, maybe if there's a pause in moving the line, if that backup man or that officer can go ahead and shut bedroom doors where we know we can't get to search right away, those bedroom doors may be able to buy us a little bit of time or keep some of the smoke and stuff out of those rooms until we can go in and search them. We need to plan the search, and this doesn't happen when we're actually in the fight. We need to plan the search ahead of time. What happens if we've got a second due delay? What's our plan? So that nozzle man has to know how to move the line pretty good and be able to pin the line and do his nozzle work by himself. And then know that the plan is that officer is going to search back off of that line, periodically checking in with that firefighter. We also need to have a plan if we run across the victim as we're stretching that line. Are we going to abandon the line and pull that victim out? Is that firefighter on the nozzle going to pin the line and then officer do a one-man drag? So we just need to have those conversations ahead of time. We also need to plan the drag. This is something that we miss a ton in search, and I like to have a feet-first plan, a head-first plan, depending on the way the victims present. But we also need to have a plan in case they're really slippery. So I'm not big into using webbing and Prusik and anything like that, but there's a time and a need if you can't get a good grip on them, whether it's using a Prusik around the feet, around the arms, whether it's grabbing a pair of jeans or some sheets or something and going underneath the arms. We need to have a plan for a one-man drag. So I hope this gave you a few things to talk about with your crew. Real simple, but we just need to break down search. And the main thing we need to remember is our goal is to have some confidence that as long as we occupy space and we don't treat it as searching for the Easter egg, that we will find the victim. So let's not be afraid to get inside. Just get inside and make that grab. I appreciate you listening. Thanks.